There are several ways that devices can be enrolled into both Azure Active Directory and Microsoft Intune. The most common enrollment options for Windows 10 devices is to use auto-enrollment. Auto-enrollment is a three-step process. If auto-enrollment is enabled, then a user can simply log on to a device using their corporate username and password. Their credentials will be checked, and if they exist in Azure AD, then the device is joined to Azure AD. The second step is to check whether the user is allowed to auto-enroll their device. If they are, then the device is enrolled into Intune. The final step is that Intune then checks the device for compliance and then deploys settings, policies, and apps to the device, and it's then fully managed. Let's troubleshoot some problems that you may encounter with the auto-enrollment process. When troubleshooting, you can include a check on the following settings: user scope settings, device enrollment limits, and Intune licenses, because you need to ensure that a user has an Intune license so they can enroll their device. The MDM user scope specifies which users can use auto-enrollment. The options are none selected and all. None, which means that automatic enrollment will be disabled. Selected, where selected groups or specific users can use automatic enrollment for their Windows 10 devices. Or all, where all users can automatically enroll their Windows 10 devices. If a user reports an auto-enrollment failure, you should check to see the user scope settings in the device settings of Azure AD. Let's take a look. I've signed into my Azure AD Admin Center. I'll then select Devices, and then Device Settings. At the top, if the user scope has been set to none, then all devices will not be able to join Azure AD, and therefore will be blocked from auto-enrollment. If the setting is set to selected, then you'll need to check to see if the user has been added to the list of members who can auto-join their devices. You also need to configure the mobility settings. Under Manage, I'll select Mobility and then select Microsoft Intune. Here you can see the user scope for both MDM and MEM. Again, if your users are not selected or the All setting has not been configured, then you may have problems with auto-enrollment into Intune. The second area is to check if the device enrollment limit has been hit. This setting allows you to control how many devices each user is able to auto-enroll. The global setting sets the maximum number of devices that any user can have. If a user has reached the set quota, then they will not be able to register additional devices. If this issue arises, then you could change the device enrollment limit, setting it to a higher number. Another option is to see if there are any devices still registered to the user that can be removed to allow new devices to be registered. Let's return to our demo environment to see how we can manage device enrollment limits. I'll return to the dashboard. Within the Azure Active Directory, I'll select Devices, and then select Device Settings. Here we can see at the bottom of the screen the maximum number of devices per user. It's currently set to 10. However, this can be modified to unlimited 150, 20, 10, or 5. I'll modify the number to 20 and click Save. Another alternative is to find a device that the user owns, and then unenroll it for management. Here we can see I have selected a device, and I'll click Delete and then Confirm, and the device will be deleted. Once deleted, the user will be able to enroll a new device. In addition to the maximum number of devices that a user can join to Azure AD, we also need to look at how auto-enrollment limits are set within Intune. I'll head to my Microsoft 365 Admin Center and launch Endpoint Management. I'll then select Devices. And then, under Device Enrollment, I'll select Enroll Devices. On the left-hand side, I'll select Enrollment Restrictions. And here we can see the device limit restrictions available for Intune. The default is 15, and we can amend this. I'll select the limit, and then click Edit. And here we can change the limit. Therefore, in this environment, I've restricted the number of devices that a user can enroll into Intune to 10.